we had this dream reality where we'd hit the road and this fairy tale would come along and we would never have to stop. I think that was one of the fairy tales we had. And that's just not reality. I think at some stage, especially if you have kids, you're going to have to consider coming home.
A new place, a new home, for a while, let me feel alive. Nothing to hold me back, take my time, just enjoy the ride. A new man passing by, life is good, best I've
All right, welcome back, mate.
Hi.
Hi.
To the people.
So, I'm actually really excited to do another podcast.
I know.
People seem to really like it. I don't know
Thanks
why.
for your feedback, guys, because Tim's like so excited because he loves doing podcasting.
I do.
So
It's because, I don't know, I think it's because you're on it. Makes things just special.
no, it's got nothing to do with me.
Oh, okay, it's everything to do with
It's
me now.
everything to do with you, Mr.
No.
Podcast Man.
That's not true. That's not true. So,
So today we are talking about,
the reality of van life.
well, we're reliving a lot of our past stuff. So this is what this video is all about because, like we mentioned in our other video, we've been watching so much of our old footage. We thought, well, if we're loving and we're like reliving a lot of those moments, maybe you guys might like to enjoy them as well. So,
Well, I was thinking of one thing in particular, and I'm probably going to have more of a negative spin for some of this than what you will. But I was thinking one thing. I remember when we left all those years ago, we were packing up the house in Pridgeon Springs.
yes.
And we're about to hit the road. And I thought, you know what? We're going to be able to live on $1,000 a week on the road. Remember that one? Remember I used to say that too?
Well, he was the mathematics man, so I left it to him.
I thought there's no way in the world that on the road we wouldn't be able to live for more than $1,000 a week.
Yes.
Yes.
Because you forget about the different expenses when you're traveling.
Yes.
It's different to when you're in the house. You still have expenses.
Yeah.
So,
I think if you're thinking of getting on the road, I think we just need to have a bit of a reality check and realise that unless you only want to travel maybe 200 kilometres a week, which is possible, this means you'll be on the road a lot longer.
yes.
With the cost of fuel, trying to get by on $1,000 or less a week for a family. We only had 3 and 2 dogs.
But we also have the 2 dogs, and the dogs are actually, people don't realise dogs are actually quite an expense, especially if you're putting them into kennels or certain caravan parks where you have to have all the documents with all the T's crossed and all the I's dotted and everything marked off and have proof, and then you've got the food and then the ongoing tick and all that stuff. It adds up. Like it actually adds up, and you've got to make sure that you're actually doing it on a regular basis. So I know, I guess you do it at home as well, but I don't know. I feel like we had to do more of it when we were on the road. I don't know.
So we travelled for 3.5 years.
Yeah.
And I don't think there was 1 week in our travels where we had a week which was less than $1,000 a week.
I don't honestly remember.
Yeah. Well, I can tell
I
you
don't really
didn't
remember because Tim did all the numbers.
It's okay. I'm not complaining. You know what? I wouldn't change it for the world. And
No, definitely wouldn't change it. Like it was more, we're a little naive thinking that this is all it's going to cost and this is going to be easy. We'll be fine. There's just 3 of us and the dogs. We'll be fine. Easy.
But it was magnificent.
It was different. But no, it wasn't as easy as what we thought it was going to be financially. We thought we were in a pretty good position.
Yeah.
So
And I was working on the road. So I was doing some tutoring for kids on the road.
Yep.
And we also had payments from YouTube coming in.
Well, that didn't come till later because
but
I know
even those payments you don't get a lot.
But we've spoken about that before when we hit the road, when we talked about doing the videos. We knew we were going to do it anyway. We weren't doing it for anything other than ourselves when we started out because we wanted the memories, we wanted to share it with family, and it was fun.
That's exactly
Tim loved making videos. And I said, well, as long as it doesn't take over our life. I said, because we've seen influencers, we've watched people, other YouTubers that spend hours and hours. I mean, unless you do these videos, you don't really understand just how much work and time goes into it. And I said, we have to have the first 6 to 8 months traveling and enjoying ourselves.
And we did that.
Document it, but we weren't doing all the editing and uploading and all that as well. So, you know what? We did it.
We had 6 months worth of travelling before we even started.
Yeah, we did 6 months of travel before we even uploaded our first video.
Yep.
So that was a condition of mine, and I think it actually was a good idea.
It worked really well.
Because we
that's really good advice, I reckon.
Yeah, make sure
I think
you
if you
have
want
time
to
for
document
family.
your travels and you want to do a YouTube channel, don't start immediately.
Yeah.
Document it, start making them.
Get a bit of a library of your content.
That was a really good thing. That was a really, really good thing. I remember that.
See, I'm good for some things. See?
You are good for some things.
There you go.
So what was it like before we hit the road? I remember our favourite time of the day was when Riley had gone to bed and we would sit down and we'd watch YouTube videos on people travelling around Australia.
This was before we left. I know. We used to absolutely love that hour on the weekend, on the Sunday night.
It was so good.
And we'd be so disappointed when there wasn't a video.
It was so good. But
so it was like, oh, we have to watch something else. But then we'd get on to a different channel, a different travel family. And
there weren't as many back then. We're talking 4 years ago, what there is now.
There's so many now.
We were very religious in watching them.
And it was like, okay, make sure everything's done. This is the time we need to make sure we're sitting down with a cup of tea or coffee in the lounge room, ready to go to watch our show. And I think we were just so excited because you guys, you know, if you've been following us for ages, this was a 5-year plan before we hit the road, and we knew we were going to do it.
Yeah, that's right.
And we built that excitement up, and we were waiting and going, it's going to be our turn soon. Yeah. It's going to be our turn. And that's why I love it when I see things now of people doing the same thing, saying it's our turn now, because I remember that feeling as if it was yesterday.
Yeah, I remember.
It is so exciting.
I remember our eldest daughter had left home, and we knew our eldest son was about to leave home. Riley was only a little fella.
Yeah, Riley was still.
And we actually
only 8 when we did it all. We started doing the preps to leave.
Yeah, we had a 3 to 5 year plan, and that took us 3 to 5 years.
Yeah,
and we used to watch those videos all the time.
But we loved it.
Yeah.
We loved it.
And we used to take notes, and we got to go there and we got to go there. And you know what's really funny? When we actually get to a spot where one of those families had been there, it's like, okay, I can see where that was, but when I watch it on TV, it's totally different to actually being there.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, it's a different perspective. You know, I can actually...
It is different.
Yeah.
It is. It's totally different.
Like, you know, I'm thinking when we went to... Tumut. I remember I watched a family who did a video on Tumut, and we were, I have to go there. And when we actually went, I think we got the site almost exactly the same site they were there.
Well, we did. And it was...
Yeah, and we were there. And I'm not saying it was just different. It was like, okay, so the video showed us sort of this much.
But there's so much more in that spot.
Whoa, it's so cool.
Yeah.
So I don't think, even though YouTube was amazing, actually travelling was even better.
Yeah, because it's just that taste, and it's through someone else's eyes.
Yeah.
So when you go there, you see it through your eyes. That's why it's fun watching videos of people, or like all different influencers and different families traveling that have been to the same spot. Like they've all been to those spots. Everyone has a different point of view on it.
Like Mount Gambier was like that for me. I remember we saw some videos of Mount Gambier.
Yeah.
And then we went there. It was even better.
Yeah, we actually loved it. Yeah. And I think that was one of the things we started to learn. I think Mount Gambier was one of those places we learnt, don't listen to everything everyone says, because we all enjoy different things and do different things. So I think we will realise then, because we actually loved Mount Gambier, loved it. And I remember seeing this previous video where a family they just didn't really like it. They said, oh, no, it's okay. It was a bit windy. It was a bit cold. We couldn't really swim. We wouldn't come back here again. And we were actually thinking, oh, well, that place looked really beautiful. So we're glad that we didn't pull back and go, well, let's not go there. Because it ended up being one of the best memorable places that we've been to.
Mount Gambier. I'm putting on my list for
Mount Gambier.
For going back there.
Yeah, we've actually we've started writing a go back there list. Places that we love that hold really good memories, and places that we sort of didn't quite finish, I guess, exploring, because we were on a bit of a time limit when we're in that area. So, yeah, there's lots of places we want to go back to, and we haven't even seen half of Australia, and we're already wanting to relive and go back to places we've already been just because we loved it so much.
It's going to be awesome. But then there were places that didn't go well. I think when you travel, you have to realise that sometimes, or there will be a moment when you're on the road and something's going to happen. Maybe you're going to be homesick, or maybe something happens.
Massive argument.
But for us, I think the one place and it's funny, it's only really just this year that I think we've actually gotten over this. But Cooper Pedy, we had a big issue in Cooper Pedy. Cooper Pedy was when the three of us got COVID. Yeah. Now, when we got COVID, Riley got sick first. He got sick in the car.
Yeah, traveling from that place that starts with W. I think it's like the Warramul or something. Anyway, I don't know.
He got sick first, and
I remember getting you pulling over, and I actually got into the back seat with him because I was really worried because I was actually he was quite, very energetic and awake, and he was very floppy, and I'm like, I'm going to get in the back because we're in the middle of nowhere and I'm genuinely worrying about him. So I jumped in the back to watch his temperature, make sure he's having some water and keep him comfy. So, yeah, I got way too close, had no idea what I was dealing with was COVID in disguise.
Now, there's not a lot of phone signal in that part of South Australia.
That was like nothing.
So
we did have our satellite phone though.
We did have that.
We did have our phone.
So we could message someone if we really wanted to.
Yeah.
So Riley got sick first, and then I don't know, either you or I got sick about the same time.
I think you started getting a bit sniffly, and then I was like, oh, this is not going to be good, because I knew that I would be smashed with it, and I started feeling a bit funky, and then Riley was literally over it in a day. Remember?
Yeah, and then we got sick. I think it took me about 5 days. It took you
5 months.
A lot longer.
I don't know, but I remember. I just so remember it clearly that Riley pretty much had to become an adult for about a week or 10 days because we couldn't cook or clean or shower in there. We had to have showers at 2 o'clock in the morning.
1 o'clock in the morning. I remember in the caravan park, we weren't allowed to socialise with anyone.
Yeah, obviously, yeah.
I don't think we told anybody. We were just being very responsible.
We were.
But we would have showers very early in the morning.
Well, I was having showers like literally at 10 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning. That was the only time I could be relieved of any kind of pain.
So I got over it reasonably quickly.
It was about 3 or 4 days for you.
Yeah, and then...
And I'm lying on the floor. So you picture this, right? So this was still when we had our little Jayco all-terrain. Tim's in the east-west bed. Tim's in there dying. I'm on the floor in the corridor part in front of the fridge and the table on the floor, dying, asking Tim to call an ambulance. He's telling me to call my own ambulance. Riley's chuckling in his bed, watching videos, making himself like little honey sandwiches and jam sandwiches and fruit. And I swear, we can laugh about it now, but that was probably the toughest time for that whole 3.5 years. Was when we were stuck somewhere that was so desolate, so isolated, and we were limited to water because you had to pay for your water at the caravan park because it's so limited and so hot and dry. That was probably the hardest of the entire travelling that we did, was that 10 days in Cooper Pedy.
I think everybody is going to have a reality check moment because we were in the middle of nowhere. We were a long way from home.
So far from home.
Our other 2 kids were back in Queensland.
Yeah,
they were sort of under lockdown or something.
They were in lockdown in Brizzy, but they were okay.
So we were in Cooper Pedy, and it was getting pretty cold.
At nights, it was getting cold.
It was really cold, and and it wasn't a very happy moment. So I think at that moment, if we could have magically transported ourselves back to the sunny coast, we probably would have.
Yeah, I think I would have, because I think I was so sick. And the pain, I couldn't get any relief from the pain. I'm just obviously I've got a bad immune system, so I do react quite harshly when I do get sick. But it was those moments where you're just laying there crying and you just want your mum. Like, even though I had Tim and Riley, I was so sick. And I don't think I've ever experienced... Actually, I did when I came home when I ended up in hospital. That was the second time. That's the only time it reminded me of COVID, was when I got influenza A. But honestly, travelling-wise... Cooper Pedy was a swear word for us for the rest of our trip on the road. I said, don't even bring up Cooper Pedy. I don't want to know about Cooper Pedy, because every time you'd bump into families, like, oh, have you been there? Like, yeah, we have, and we never want to go back.
Now, to be fair, I don't think it was Cooper Petey's fault.
No, it wasn't, and we know that. It was just that's where it was. And we genuinely probably would go back to Cooper Petey just so we could experience it properly without being sick, because that was on our bucket list to go there, and it was just such a shame.
I think we need to actually do that whole centre part again, because we went from Cooper Petey then up to Uluru.
Yeah, and I was still very sick.
And we also went to the Olgas, which is in the area. I remember you couldn't go to the Olgas.
I made it to the car park and ended up at a local toilet waiting for the boys to finish their hike because I was violently ill still.
And even though it was stunning, I think we...
And then we went to... That's where Uluru was, because we camped there. And again, that was really hard. Don't forget, we've also got 2 dogs that constantly have to be fed, walked and taken to toilets while we were so sick. We managed, but we also did, we experienced Uluru, but...
Oh, it was stunning.
It was nothing compared to what it would have been had I been fully well, and the boys were still... I mean, you guys were okay, I think. You did a bit more than I did.
Well, we went from Uluru then to Alice Springs, and we weren't going to stay there initially for a few days, but we actually ended up staying there for nearly 2 weeks.
Well, we did
because we wanted to really get well again.
Yeah, and we had another travel family that we'd met, that we'd bumped into. We'd travelled a little bit with them. They also turned up there as well. We hung out with them for a bit. But we also got an ensuite, remember?
Yeah.
And we hadn't had an ensuite bathroom like that for I don't know how long, because we'd free camped everything. And so just having that space of just your own private little ensuite, we ended up staying there for 9 days.
Yeah, so I mean, Alice Springs was, it was a place where you got better. We all got better there.
Yeah, and that's where we were fine. And we actually loved Alice Springs before. I know it's gone a bit haywire now, but when we were there, it was beautiful.
It was stunning. It really was like an oasis.
It really was.
And they had the McDonald Ranges there, and we did lots of walks.
Stunning place.
Yeah, it really, really was. And again, I think we need to seriously think about heading back
because
there.
then from there we went to the Devil's Marbles, and it was when we got to the Three Ways that we had to come home from there.
Yeah, because our daughter was getting married.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what it was, because we had to come home for a wedding. So
I think at the end of the day, I think if you want to travel for any length of time in Australia, whether it be significant length, anything over, say, a couple of months long, I think you need to be prepared to have a lot of discipline. Like, you're going to say, okay, no, we're going to stick this out, because if you stick it out, the rewards come. And the rewards for us were just intense. I mean, they were amazing.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just seeing how awesome Australia is. It wasn't the freedom. I don't honestly think I ever felt any freer then than what I do now.
Yeah.
But I felt content, I think.
I think it was easy.
Yeah.
For the most part, it was easy. Like, I'm not going to pretend like it was all roses and fairy tales and everything was wonderful. And we fought, we had arguments, we had our times just like any couple does, but wrapping it all up in the long run, no matter how many arguments we had or disagreements or frustrations, it's actually brought us so much closer together.
Well, when you're in a caravan, you can't go anywhere.
No, so you've got to sort it out.
Yeah.
And I think that was the best part about it. At the time, it was the worst, because all you wanted to do was just slam the door and walk out and say, get away from me. And that just wasn't going to happen. So you just got to suck it up and deal with it and move forward, because you live in a box.
Just seeing you to hide in the bathroom occasionally.
Yeah, do you know what? I don't care, I'll be honest. We had moments where I would be just so frustrated. I don't even know, it was something so trivial, because that happens when you're in the van, because you don't have any space. And I would go and sit in the bathroom, which has like a concertina door. Everyone can hear you, see you, hear you crying and blowing your nose and cursing or whatever it is you're doing. And then the boys would be outside probably thinking, does she realise we can actually hear what she's saying? Like, does she know that it's not a wooden door? And I would be like, I know you can hear me. Like, I know you can hear and everything, but it's just how it was. So what I'm saying is, it's not perfect. You're still going to have arguments. Yeah. You're still going to have moments like that.
I think you've got to be prepared to have discipline, and you've got to be prepared to stick it out.
And just get through
because
it.
The rewards are amazing. I mean...
They really are.
We'll talk about the rewards maybe another day, but, the rewards, they're just so many.
All right. Next topic. What are we going to chat about now?
Well, I really wanted to talk about the financial reality. Okay. Just a little bit on that. So, I know I touched on it before.
Yes.
So, I think we made quite a few mistakes when we went travelling. And I can,
Yes.
I'll start from the very top. I'm going to work my way down the list. It's a very significant list.
Just make sure the list is short.
But-
Just do little
but
points. Don't do stories on everyone. We're here all day.
We owned a house in Pridgeon Springs, which is on the sunny coast. We also owned our BT50, which at the time was probably about 7 years old. And we owned a Jayco all-terrain. And it was an amazing rig. We spent some money in getting the BT50 all rigged out and that sort of stuff.
A lot of money
But
over the
we
years.
ended up with a camp kitchen in the back. And now
we
I
had
think
drawers, we had the roof racks, we had
we
had
got
it
a
all.
GVM upgrade, all that sort of stuff. I think weight-wise, I think we're pretty much on the limit. I don't think we could have gone much more than what we already did.
But I mean, but in saying that, also the upgrades were done over that 7 years. We didn't just do it all at once because we don't have that kind of money.
No.
So over 7 years, we got it to this perfect, awesome car.
I think if we were to go travelling again, the first thing we would do is that we would never sell our house. I know we've spoken about this before. And I know a lot of people do because they think we had this dream reality where we'd hit the road and this fairy tale would come along and we would never have to stop. I think that was one of the fairy tales we had. And that's just not reality. I think at some stage, especially if you have kids, you're going to have to consider coming home.
Yeah, because you've got to think about schools and a house and everything like that. And it is quite stressful when you have a child you've got to put back into school and you've got to figure out, well, do we pick the school first or where do we live first? Because we need to, they've got to kind of balance each other out.
So what we did is that we sold our house and we bought a couple of units on the sunny coast. We thought, well, that'd be a great way to invest that money and get an income coming in from the rental.
Yeah.
The reality of that, of course, was that the rental we were getting, it was never enough for us to survive.
No.
It was around $1,000 income coming in, but then from that you then had to pay all the utilities and you had to pay body corporate fees and all that sort of stuff.
And then if something broke, you'd have to fill out the form and then send the money. And
we ended up going backwards quite a bit.
Yeah.
So I think the first thing that we would do is that and then when we came home, we had the units which we sold, but we were never able to actually get enough money to buy back into the sunny coast. So we never ended up really making enough money for us to travel. So we were always dipping into our savings. And then we did a really silly thing. We ended up selling one of our units and we bought a more expensive van and a more expensive car.
Yeah, but I mean, there was a reason.
Well, there were reasons.
There were reasons for it. At the time, we thought it was a smart decision and we actually sat down together outside the caravan, around the table, chatting to each other and going, okay, what are the pros, what are the cons? Like, we thought we were doing the right thing. We were committed to travelling. We knew what we wanted. The caravan itself was getting a little bit older and there was a couple of things. I think that day the washing machine leaked or something and it flooded the whole van.
And it flooded a couple of times.
In the bottom, like nothing major because we were home, but
no, we were in town.
As in, we were home in the caravan. We weren't out away from the van, so it was literally, we were on it straight away. But that was sort of like, I think it was just the timing. It was just like, I've had it. Let's just delve into this and let's have a look and see what our options are.
Yeah. So I think we made a few financial mistakes. But that's okay. We live and learn.
But in saying that, I think the mistake that we made there was, yes, it was time to upgrade. Yes, we needed a little bit more room because the east-west bed was getting a bit challenging for us with the dogs and all our gear and stuff. But we could have easily upgraded for half the price.
Yeah, we could have easily got a van with a north-south bed.
Yeah, we could have easily got a beautiful van with a north-south bed, with an awesome bathroom, everything that we sort of wanted without having to literally overspend, which we did. We did not need a van with all those amazing qualities and fancy things on it, but we just aren't those people. We don't go crazy off-road, forward driving, all the beach runs, and we just don't do that. And so that van would suit someone like that. So it's just not who we are.
The van that we had the new van we got, it ended up with 600 amps of lithium and over 1,000 watts of solar, and we had a 2,400 watt inverter and all that sort of stuff. But we used it sometimes. We used it quite a bit down in Tassie. I know that
Tassie's probably the most we used it off-grid.
Honestly, like where we went, we mainly went where it was really hot. And we could run the air conditioning for a few hours, but we could never run it for more than a few hours. So we never really used it to the extent that we
It's almost like we didn't do the van justice
yeah.
because we didn't utilise what it was made for. So realistically, I think we just could have bought something a lot cheaper that would have been just as good for us for what we used it for. That's what I think.
I think halfway through our travels, I think we sort of lost sight of what was important, and that was being together and travelling.
Yeah, because it got busy.
Yeah.
It did. We did get busy when we started getting involved more with YouTube and making the videos and making the content, and it is time consuming, and I think that's why. And then we had we had family health scares, then we had a funeral we had to go to. Like there was things that started to really eat us up, and then I think that's when things changed. It shifted, didn't it?
Yeah.
That last year of travels just shifted for us, and we realised I think we started to get a bit homesick, I reckon, in that last
and the issue was
year.
when we got homesick, we couldn't really say where our home was because we didn't really have one.
Yeah. We didn't really have a home, but family being home, friends being back where we're from, we started to miss that a little bit because, we weren't overly happy in the van. We weren't happy with each other's situation. I don't know, everything, we didn't get time together. Everything started to start, I don't know, I felt like everything did start to fall apart because the wrong things became priority.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things I love about our current van is that I think
the little bug.
It's really brought us back to what we really loved when we first started travelling.
It's that
was
same
the
excitement.
Simplicity, the excitement, being closer together, having, not that we're roughing it, but things are a lot tighter.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I mean. We're not roughing it. It's better than a tent. No. And we're trying to squeeze all into a tent.
And it's, I don't know, it's nice having a smaller rig because it reminds me a bit of where we were a few years, 5 years ago.
I think that's it. I think it's the simplicity. It's us. It suits us. It does everything that we need. And it's even got a few wants, which was that full bathroom was a huge want. And we got that. I don't know. We keep saying it. We love the van and we don't know what it is. I don't know. We just love it.
It's just awesome. And when we were travelling, we had a few things that we could probably say were useless, but we also had a few things that I think were really, really good that we spent the money on, and we're still using them even today.
And what's that?
Well, that's sea gear mat that we've got.
that's like part of the family.
It's been retired 2 or 3 times, then we bring it out of retirement.
That sea gear mat, we'll have to say.
It's just the best.
And we're not sponsored by them or anything. Like, we never have been, but it's like...
We had that from the moment we first hit the road, 5.5 years ago, whatever it was.
But we had it prior to hitting the road.
Oh, it's just been awesome.
We've had it forever.
We've got now all the little rings are starting to come out of it, but it's still awesome.
It still works. Like,
it's still so good.
We literally, we just took it up to Rainbow and we had that massive storm and we're like ankle deep in water. It's just chilling under the water. And then the water recedes and all the stuff goes with it.
I know. And then
like
Justine, while we're up at Rainbow, she knocked over a candle.
Oh, the citronella candle.
Wax all over the sea.
So Tim's really upset.
And then but then she did it again.
I actually did it twice.
Now, I mean, if I had done that, can you imagine?
I'd be saying,
what would have happened?
That's such a great idea. Let's put candle wax all over the mat and we won't get bitten by midges.
You so wouldn't be saying that. But that sea gear mat really has been incredible.
So
the other thing is...
that's definitely something I'm almost tempted to say, look, should we be thinking about getting another one? Because...
It took us like a year to get all the red dirt from Uluru out of it.
I know, that stayed there for a while, which was fun. But
it was fun. And then the step. Now, you might think this is really
funny.
I remember when we've
had this step for longer than Tim thinks we have. He thought we only had it when we travelled, but we had it prior to that.
I remember when we bought it. It's this plastic step, and it's rated at 250 kilograms. And Justine said, I think we need to buy this step. And I looked at the price. It was like $90 or $100.
Plastic step.
Okay, I'm not spending $100 on a plastic step. I remember it. And she said, look, it'll last a long time. And I said, it's a step. I said, and at that stage, we'd had some of those aluminium ones that just fall apart.
Yeah.
And I said, you can't fold it down. It's too bulky. He said, we can put it in the footwell. Anyway... to save an argument, I said, okay, we'll buy this stupid step. And anyway, we've still got it, and it's still like we use it for everything.
Can I just interrupt momentarily? So was I right?
Justine's always right.
Was I right in that moment?
Justine's always right.
I knew because that moment, those legs, because that step before, remember it had it got sand or something in these steps, and it started being really sticky. That's why I said I need something that doesn't do that this time.
So it's more bulkier, but we're still using it. We're still using it in this van.
And we actually use it at home
every day.
To stand on, to stand up, to do things. Even now you're using it to unclip the pop-top roof if we can't reach.
Yeah, that's right.
Washing
use it to get your mum into the car and stuff.
Yeah, we've used it for so many things.
Yeah.
It's been like the best, and it's still hardy as anything. There's no cracks or anything in it.
I know. It's going to last for another 20 years.
Best $90 spent ever.
I think it was a bit more than 90. It was about 110 or something.
No, it wasn't. It was under $100.
All I know is that I thought it was very expensive at the time. But they still have them.
I know, they're still around. They're still at the camping stores. So
if you're sick and tired of buying steps that fall apart, go and get one of those plastic ones. They're amazing.
But in saying that, just got to make sure that you have something underneath make sure it's on something that it's not going to slip on, because
it does get a bit slippery.
If it's on like the mat that's a bit slippery and you step and you can slide, so they can slip. So you do need to make sure that you put something underneath to make sure it's not going to slip while you're stepping up the step.
And the other thing again, we're not sponsored by anybody, by the way, but those muck mats.
We've had them also. And you know what? I remember that was my thing back then. It was like roll switch, where you're like, we should get these. These are amazing. And I'm like, no, we don't need them. It's a mat. We've got a mat already. It was $10 or whatever. And you're like, and for me, they were so expensive. But they actually aren't compared to other things on the market. They've actually been the best. We have a little one for the step, and then we bought that extra largey one. I don't know now because there's all different sizes since we bought them. And we've got that one
different
currently.
Colours.
And different colours now. But we've got the other one. The big one's been at the back door since we moved into the house. And we've forgotten twice now to take it with us on our 2 trips in the caravan. I'm like, damn it.
Yeah, and one more little thing of those little tool bags that we have, those canvas tool bags.
Oh, yeah.
I mentioned that in a previous video.
Well, that's kind of like your
thing.
They've
just been so good.
They are good because you just throw them around everywhere, and they've got
tent
working.
pegs and stuff, and they don't have any holes in them. And
the only thing is you need to label them. I think get a text over, because every time he goes, they're in the bag, they're in the toolbox. He's got 2 of them, identical, and I always unzip and pull out the wrong one every time. So I'm actually going to get a marker and mark on the outside which one's which, for my benefit.
Probably the number one. I think we're going to have an argument here.
Oh.
But the number one thing I think that I wish we didn't have in previous rigs, and that was the compost toilet.
So say that again. You wish you didn't have.
Yes. We spent that little bit of extra money and got a compost toilet in our previous van.
Yes.
And I wish we hadn't done that and just stuck with the cassette toilet.
Well, I see we do disagree a little bit on that, because it wasn't till the very, very end of our travels that I was over it. I was loving it, because when we were free camping, you were loving it too, because it lasts a lot longer. You're not emptying the toilet as much. Well, one section you are, but yeah, I don't know.
Still got to empty the
I'm swayed now back to the other ones. What are they called? What do you call the other ones?
The cassette
toilets.
They're just so you have to find a dump point.
But I think we're definitely.
I think if you're free camping, you just buy another cassette.
Yeah.
And you can just store that one away and find a dump point.
Yeah.
I think
we've had our experience with a composting toilet, and I think that was our experience, and we're good.
Yeah, we're good.
We're going to stick to cassette toilets.
Okay, no more cassette toilet.
I don't even think you need to write that. I think we know that.
No, I would never spend the money on a compost toilet again.
No.
Because we had a few little explosions.
Yeah, we don't even want to go there. Yep. You just know we're not going to go there.
It's just not going to happen. All right, well, but then there's been some other amazing things, haven't we? I think the things that we've seen, the experiences that we've had.
Well,
I think for me, before you start, I know you got a long list of stuff here.
Oh, I have a list. Tim's like, you don't need to write everything down.
No, it's okay.
I have to, because I forget stuff.
I think the thing that I think about the most were always the starry nights. I remember being in Tumut where it was cold, and you heard and you saw the we had the river right next to us and it was running down. You could hear the wind.
And the water, the ripples.
And you had the fire going next to us. It was crack, crackle, crackle, crackle. And it was cold and
it was
you had to
freezing,
get really
but
rugged up. Yeah. And back then we had the chairs that you could recline and you could recline back. And I remember seeing the stars. And it was like I had you there, Riley there, the fire, the river, the sounds, the cold.
You're forgetting the
2 dogs.
That's when Millie was a maniac pup.
Yeah.
She was puppy.
But I remember thinking, wow, this is just also awesome. And I had quite a few moments like that. I remember seeing the sunset in Alice Springs, going this like the colour of the sun, and the sunsets just seemed to go on forever. And I remember we were up at the lookout at Alice Springs, where the Anzac lookout is there, and it was at sunset.
Yep.
This is so beautiful, and it really made me connect that much more with God, because it was just so special. It was like,
well, they're places that you don't. Yeah. It's a different feeling. You'll know it when you're in those positions. Yeah.
When everything is so huge and so intimate at the same time,
you realise just how small you are.
Yeah, and then you start to realise how awesome God is. I think that was the thing that really made me really wake up to a few things, and that's what travel really did for me. But there were so many places we went to. I know you got a list there. And
well, I have mine. Mine is literally just, here it is. This is where it was.
Yeah.
But I think for me, I have to say where this all began was Kenya Gorge.
Yeah.
That was where we did our very first YouTube video, and that was our first little tester to see what it was like. And I remember the king parrots jumping around on our shoulders, and because we were feeding them, and Riley was loving it. The dogs were just laying there with their backs to the camera because that's what they did. But I remember that being a really awesome moment, because it was like, this is it. We're really doing this. We're now one of those people that are out there as a family about to start travelling full time.
And the funny thing is, we spent New Year's Eve in Kenya Gorge, so it was literally...
Did we really?
We did. Yep.
I didn't realise it was New Year's Eve. Oh, wow.
And so that would literally be 6 years ago? I don't know, 5 years ago?
Wow.
And that's where we started.
That's
I remember
crazy
it was super hot.
It was hot.
But
I remember the walks that you went on, and the bike rides we did, and the birds everywhere. It was just that real touch of reality. Here we are. This is nature. One of those
places, people don't really talk about it.
No, and I think it was it Monto, the little town near it? And I think you were saying, I had to write it down because I couldn't remember. It's west of Bundaberg. Yeah. So it's in Queensland. It's west of Bundaberg. I don't know how far in.
Way west. It's probably about...
But you do have... Yeah, it's a bit of a hike in.
200 k's west of Bundy.
But the roads were really good,
just south of Monto.
Yeah. And Monto is an awesome little town.
Yeah.
Monto was also... That's in that same location. But that was also where we saw our first silo art.
Yeah.
Remember? And we were like, we've seen this on so many people's videos. Right. We were so adamant to find this silo with all this painting on it. And I remember directly across the road was a farm where a lady would come and set up her little farm outside of her house. And it was like it was on a show. Like, it's like you rock up to this awesome little place where she has a couple of parks. She's coming down from the farmhouse to top up all her little eskies with her fresh fruit and veg. And behind you is this stunning 3 big silos with this gorgeous painting on it. And everyone's on holidays. Everyone's loving it. You all talk to each other, telling stories. And
we had a friend come and meet us at Kenya Gorge, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. We had some friends come with her boys. They met us there with all the parrots. And
I remember.
And that's also, I just remembered, that's also where we saw our first firefly. What is it?
Oh, yeah, fireflies.
Is it a firefly?
Yeah.
That's when we first saw it. The lady actually came down because we said we'd never seen one. And the lady on the caravan park, she came to find us, and she finally found us. She said, "Oh, you're the ones that have never seen one. Come with me." And she went and showed us, and we stood in the bush, and I'm standing there going, I don't know what this lady's on because I can't see anything. And then all of a sudden, out of the bottom of the bush, up come these light, and it was the most amazing experience and then she managed to catch 2 of them and put them in a jar for Riley to have a look, and she goes, oh, you can keep them in the caravan overnight. And I'm like, I don't think so. Let them be free. This is their home. But we ended up keeping it just for like an hour, and we took some photos and did a little bit of footage, I think, of it. But This is what I mean.
That was a
Kenya
great
Gorge
place
was
to
just
start our travels, Kenya Gorge.
Yeah, and that's a place we are 100% going to go back to and do another video because we're different people, but it's such a beautiful memory there because I feel like that's where it all began.
Yeah, that was our first. We were still learning how to make videos.
Yeah, we were like beginners there, but geez, we had fun.
Yeah, I'd like to go back there and do another one at some stage.
Yeah, so anyway, I probably rambled a bit on that one, but Kenya Gorge, and Tim's already touched on this, but Tumut, that was 100% one of my favourites for the same reasons. We had the best spot. They put us in one spot which was a bit how you go, and it was muddy because remember it was a bit wet when we arrived, and it was muddy and all the beautiful like leaves. But I said we need to move. This isn't going to work. And so they actually moved us to a site that was actually a free campsite, but we plugged into the site behind us because there wasn't anyone actually on the site. So they let us just sort of be on the free camp because that had the most spectacular view of the river. We cooked on the fire. The boys did salmon fishing. I looked after the dogs. Lots of reading and I think there was a highlight of how many followers or something we had in that moment as well. Like we'd reached I think it was like 1,000 or 2,000 or 5,000 followers or something. It was something really amazing. And because I remember doing a little video, I don't know where it is, we might be able to find it, but I remember that was also where that happened because that was kind of, again, because I run on memories of specifics. So Tumut is definitely somewhere we're going to go back to. Mount Beauty. The snow. Oh, my gosh. How good was it?
Yeah, it was really good.
That caravan park was stunning. Beautiful river flowing. The mountains with all covered in snow behind it. So that was amazing there because we got to drive ourselves through. Like that's a dream of mine. We drove on the road with snow covered, like trees and everything. Each side of the road was covered in snow as we drove to Falls Creek, and it was just like, it was almost like a teary moment going, oh my gosh, I can't believe that you only see this in movies. And that was so special. We didn't ski or anything there. We literally just went for a walk around to see the snow. And Mount Beauty, again, we love it. We can't wait to do another snow trip. We're not sure where it will be, but we'll definitely do another snow trip. Now, totally, so they're both in New South Wales, Tumut and Mount Beauty. Now going to South Australia. There was a whole coastline there that we loved. And obviously you talked about Mount Gambier and that whole coastline road all the way down. We loved it. But Coffin Bay in South Australia, so that coast is a southwest coast. Yeah. Coffin Bay was, again, it was like living in another world.
Southwest coast of the Eyre Peninsula.
Yeah. And I think you come out of your caravan to have a cup of tea, sit down to read for a while, and along comes the local emus just bobbing away, coming past you as you're having your tea, and they just look at you and they're just saying, hey, how you go? I'm just going down to the ocean, and you're just sitting there saying, oh, yep, see you tomorrow or see you this afternoon. And the most amazing oysters. I don't eat them, but I did try them. I remember we had a video we did of me trying it. But we got these amazing, huge oysters from a farm. They're like, what are they? The ones they don't want?
Coffin Bay oysters. I don't know. I think sometimes if they're too big, they can't have oysters that are too big. So they sell them for really cheap. But you can.
That's right.
They've got to be a certain size for the restaurants. So Coffin Bay oysters are famous all the way around the world.
But the big, chunky ones that get
rejected. If they're too big, they can't ship them because they're too big, so they have a certain size. So the ones that are too big, they'll sell to the locals.
And we were locals when we were there.
Yeah.
And you made a beautiful recipe, didn't you?
Yeah, it was so good.
I tried it, but I made the mistake of biting into it, and I looked at it, and that was all over.
You shouldn't have done that. You just
it was all over.
You put them in your mouth and you just go for it.
No.
I don't really like them raw. I know that, that's... raw. But I do really like them cooked. I do.
Well, we did have oysters when we went to that amazing restaurant, the HQ.
Oyster HQ.
Oyster HQ.
And that was a funny story, that place.
Yes.
Can I talk about the story?
Yes, you can absolutely tell that story.
All right, so it was the wind at Oyster HQ was pretty intense. I remember sitting outside.
It was a bit crazy.
The wind in Coffin Bay was pretty intense, but it was an amazing place. We sat down. We managed to get a place outside.
Amazing little table outside.
Yeah, right on the edge of the water.
Yeah.
And anyway, they came along and they gave us the menus and we started looking at them. And I think this was even before we even got the menus.
We hadn't got the menus
We
yet.
literally sat down. The wind was blowing and it was we just got to try to get a bit warm. We weren't really paying attention to what was happening.
No.
And then literally as soon as we sat down, they started coming and they started putting food in front of us.
Yeah, they were just like little entree.
Little, what do they call them?
Oyster Kilpatrick.
Yeah.
And there was something else. There's two things.
Anyway, they just put them down. There you go. Oh, wow, this is good. Like, they must sort of give you this before you even order anything,
We've been to fancy restaurants and that's what they do.
Yeah, they give you these little tappers type stuff to start off with. I think that's a good way to promote your business, a good way to get these things. And we started eating them and they came along with these little miniature type steak type things and put them in front of us. I go, this is really, really good. And we ate them all. And, of course, then someone came and said, would you like an order? And I said, oh, yeah, we're so amazed. I mean, this food they're giving us is really great. What food? Anyway, they gave us somebody else's meal.
So we ate somebody else's entrees, and that was the table behind us that actually watched us thoroughly enjoying us eating their entrees. And I even ate the oyster Kilpatrick, and so did Riley. And we were just like, this is so good.
I know.
And then realising that they're behind us going, they just ate our entrees. And then, what could you do? We couldn't do anything about it. They were giving us food and never told us.
But, it really was. And that would have to be the best seafood I've ever eaten.
Yeah, because what we did order came on a massive pink salt block. It was a hard block of pink salt. And the meat was cooked on it. Did we have salmon or we had something? We had meat and a fish. We had
sirloin and fish, I think.
And they'd cook it on this salt. It is incredible.
Yeah.
So I would literally travel all the way back to South Australia. It's a long way to get to that point just to go to that restaurant again because it was amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So Coffin Bay.
Yes. So and that coastline, Streaky Bay, we did all that too. And that was amazing. And Palubi.
The walks around Coffin Bay are just amazing, and the national park beaches and
the dogs can pretty much go everywhere where we've been talking about at the moment because I haven't mentioned them, but the dogs can go to all of these places.
And when I think of Coffin Bay, the thing that stands out for me, besides all the things that we saw and the food that we ate and the experiences that we had, well, again, the people that we met. I remember we met a really lovely couple at Coffin Bay and
they
ended up becoming really great friends of ours. And
they took us forward driving on the sand dunes. I thought they were joking.
They had a Land Cruiser.
Yeah, and we hadn't had the BT50 back then.
But yeah, that was really cool.
And that just shows you an example of the people that you meet.
Yeah.
We didn't have a car that could do the sand dunes because ours was too decked out to do it. And they just said, oh, you want to come with us? And we're like, oh, we've got our son as well. They're like, yeah, bring him, come along. And we actually had a ball, didn't we? We had such a great time, and we still know them. We haven't actually spoken to them for a little while, so that is a good reminder. We might check in and see how they're going. So, Coffin Bay was great.
I know they're still travelling.
Well, we don't really know.
We don't really know, but that was the case a couple of years ago.
Well, they'd probably be silly not to.
Yeah.
Like us.
All right, my dear, keep going.
What's next? The next is, let's go Victoria. This is just we tried to grab a couple from different states. So obviously going to Tassie, we had to go through Victoria. So Ballarat was kind of a good place for us to go. And I think the thing that sold it to us was, is it called the Ballarat Caravan Park?
I think so.
And they're the ones where you have your caravans, you reverse into an actual fenced site. And it is amazing. We could actually put the caravan in and the car, and the dogs could be off leash, roaming around, wrestling, playing, kicking the ball as if you're in a backyard. And honestly, being in the caravan for such a long time and always having to have the dogs on lead or long leashes or having to drive to off leash parks or beaches, it does sometimes get a bit on you. It's like, oh, I wish I could just let them run around. So when we went there, that was amazing. We loved it.
It was the Big Four at Ballarat.
Oh, there you go. The Big Four at Ballarat. And then to top that off, over the back part of the caravan park, they have a massive pond area for the dogs. It's a full off-leash area that they have enclosed with little, and in the ponds are all fish. And it's stunning. I hope we can find some footage to put over this because they are amazing. And the people running it were so lovely. Yeah. They were so nice. And I think...
It was a good way because we went to Ballarat on the way home.
Yeah.
We came from Tassie up through Geelong and went up to Ballarat that way. And it was a good because we knew we had to get home at that stage, but it was a great place to stay. And again, I think if we had the time, we would have spent a lot longer there because I quite enjoy. Again, some great walks around Ballarat.
Yeah, well, because we didn't have as much
beautiful
time.
people. We met lots of locals. Remember, we went to the big dog park down there and we met those locals.
We did. We met lots of people.
Again, it's about the people that you meet, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's the place. You remember the places, of course, also with the people that you meet.
Yeah.
So, I think they were sort of like the top little ones that sort of holds good memories in regards to places. But there was a couple of others. Like I think Hay, when we were travelling through the Hay Plains, I mean, that was awesome because you'd never been there.
No.
As a child, we used to holiday going to another farm in Victoria. So as a kid, I don't really remember anything because I was only young and I just had my, what do you call it, a Walkman back then, showing my age. In the car, we didn't really pay attention. It was just like, are we there yet? Are we there yet? So as an adult going back to those places, it was just like you could really admire the scenery and the outback and that lookout that we went to.
Well, we stayed
amazing.
We stayed one night in Hay. Now
I think it was 2 nights. We spent 2 nights in that little caravan park.
They had a
in
great
Hay.
pool there. I remember it was so hot.
It was so hot.
The pool was just so welcoming. But as soon as the sun went down, it got cold, remember?
Yeah.
And I remember flying the drone around Hay.
You got amazing footage out there.
But going out to the actual plains at sunset, remember that?
That's what I'm saying, that lookout out there, because that's what they said, make sure you go out there.
There's not really a lookout as far as high.
It's not the height, it's just off the road.
I was told that you either hate Hay or you hate the Hay Plain or you love it. Well, I loved it.
Yeah, I know. Funnily, as a kid, I hated it, but as an adult, I love it.
I don't know. It's like the moon. It's like another planet.
You literally, because everything's so sparse
flat.
and flat, and it's just you can see for so far. It's just you just keep looking into the horizon, and it's all flat.
Yeah.
So
that's some beautiful photos at Hay.
Yeah, Hay was just a good memory for both of us for that. For the sunset.
It really was. And we knew we were heading to South Australia, and
like the roads just sort of just kept going, like the never-ending road.
It was awesome.
I'm assuming maybe the Nullarbor will be like that because we never got to the Nullarbor.
I would go back to the Hay Plain for sure. I'm going to put that on my list. Hay Plain.
As a photographer, we're sort of looking at through photographer eyes as well, not just let's just go to Hay. Like there's lots of reasons to go back to places for us, and I think this is a big one. This was like we talk about. I think we've talked about it before. We've shared with you guys when we stayed at this little hip camp just outside of Goulburn, and it started snowing.
Oh,
remember?
right, yeah. I was wondering where this was going.
We actually had that on our last video.
Yeah.
We had some footage of it, and that to me is a huge memory because none of us had seen. Well, you'd seen falling snow, hadn't you, before?
Not falling snow.
No, so none of. I think that was an experience that all three of us experienced at the same time, but like at different age levels, I guess, and that was really cool. Even the dogs got to experience that, and that was not even predicted. It was that afternoon predicted, but I mean, for that time of year, it wasn't. I
think about that place is that it doesn't matter. I'll always remember exactly where that was because I remember even traveling. I think we were traveling back that way on the way home from Tassie. I remember going past it. I knew exactly where it was. It was right there. It is. That's exactly where it was.
Yeah.
And I'll always remember exactly where it was because I hold such a special memory. And that's the fantastic thing about travelling, isn't it?
That's it. Unfortunately, that hip camp's not
there anymore.
Because we stayed in touch with her, the girl that was running it and living there. And it's a shame, but it just wasn't meant to be.
It was just awesome.
That memory will be there. And that same thing happened at Cradle Mountain. For me and Riley, you weren't there. You were back doing editing in the caravan.
Well, I didn't think it was going to snow.
And it started snowing. And I was so sad because Tim wasn't with us.
So we spent the day at Cradle Mountain, and the next day I had to edit.
And then,
And then you, Riley, went back there.
Because we had friends down that we were travelling with, and they were all doing hikes. And
it snowed.
And it was snowy. We literally pulled into the caravan park, and I'm like, it's snowing.
It wasn't as much as what there was in Goulburn, though.
No, Goulburn was that was like massive snowflakes.
And it stayed there for hours.
Yeah.
It started
and we were out there freezing.
Just on sunset it started, and it was still going like a few hours later.
So it's like
that was pretty special.
That's my special moments. And then I think one thing, like with the travelling, so generally you pick your plan, you pick where you're going. You're like, okay, this is the map. This is the roads we need to take. This is how long it takes to get there. This is how many kilometres we got. We've got this for fuel and mile. You're adding all these calculations, which I'm sure everyone understands what I mean.
I know where this is
going. You
going.
have a plan.
Yeah.
We had so many plans that we changed, and like just at the spur of the moment, you know what? Let's go there. We're supposed to be going this way, but let's just go this way. So, and we did that a lot. But I think I've got the...
Hopefully we're thinking of the same place.
When we were up at Cooktown, heading back from Cooktown, because that was like another hiccup with when we were changing over cars and stuff, so we couldn't get all the way up to the tip, which was a bummer. We got as far as, so we're coming home, and I'd looked up, I'd seen this on somebody else's show, the Tallaroo Hot Springs, and that's like in the middle of nowhere, really. I think you looked it up. It was near Mount Surprise on the Savannah Way.
Yeah.
And like,
it was
honestly,
a long, long way out of the way.
I did a lot of convincing to get Tim to turn when we were on our way that day. I'm like, it's really good. It could be such an experience. We haven't done any hot springs and we've been on the road for so long and that's been my dream. And I really put it on. And then Riley's backing me up going, I want to see a hot spring. I want to see the hot springs. So anyway, I said to Tim, you know what? It's a once in a lifetime experience. It's not that far out of the way. We aren't on a time limit. We don't actually have to be anywhere. So you'll have those moments where you have to be somewhere. This was one of those moments where we didn't have to be anywhere at any time. So Tim's like, okay. And what happened when we went there?
It was pretty awesome.
It was unbelievable.
It was pretty awesome.
The car was filthy. I remember the car, my white car was like brown. There was like, it was so dirty because it was so dry and dusty.
Oh, hang on a minute. Did we still have the white car?
Oh, no, we had the black car.
Yeah.
No, actually we didn't have the white one. We'd actually traded it in and we'd got the Ford Ranger in preparation for the next van. That's right. And I remember you being all sad because it was brand new and it was covered in dirt. That's right. I do remember now. How funny. But it was good because that was an experience. We do talk about that because it is the only hot springs that we really experienced fully.
We did go to the Artesian Basin where they had those baths. That was at...
where all the caves are?
No, where we had the bath, you know.
Julia Creek.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the what is it? The
Artesian Plains.
Artesian Plains. Well, that was not a hot spring though.
No, but that was pretty.
But that was
cool.
pretty. Well, it was pretty awesome too. All of Winton and Julia Creek and all that area. Yes.
So that area, Winton, Julia Creek.
That was when we were coming. That was awesome. That was a bucket list to sit in a bathtub under the stars in a tin shed, just having a drink and something to eat and
Riley was there.
And Riley's splashing around and bombing in the bath. It was really romantic. Yeah. But, you got to love him. That just comes with it.
But I'll always remember the little nibbles because we had the bath at sunset and they gave us the little nibble plate. And
that's where I towed the caravan to Julia Creek from wherever it was.
Maybe. Yeah, I can't remember. But we had a great site there. It was one of the drive-through sites, I remember.
We did. That's why I think I drove. It's like because I can drive through it.
It was again, like, just these are the things that... And
I mean, this is what we do. We could probably be talking for hours about all these things. But I mean, these were just the bigger highlights that, we thought of now. I think we'll probably do another one of these because from looking at it from a different angle as well because there's so many places that we love. We haven't even
started looking at Tassie yet.
I know. The Tassie
got that on
footage.
your list?
Well, Tassie's kind of like, I feel like Tassie's a separate experience because it was kind of like towards the end of our travels, we had things go wrong and I don't know, it was a different feeling of travel. So I think the Tassie trip will be a little bit of a different video, but saying that, we love Tassie and I want to live there.
I think everything in Tassie was going really well until we realised our travels were over when the tree hit the car.
Yeah.
I think from there things always were a little bit tainted.
Yeah, so I did forget one more. I just looked at my notes. Do you remember when we decoyed to Junie?
Detoured?
Detoured, not decoyed. Detoured. Detoured to, is it Junie?
The licorice factory.
The chocolate licorice factory? Oh
so
my
good.
Goodness.
And do you remember they gave us all that stuff for free?
And it was so funny because
we did the tour by us. Because
they added a tour.
Okay, so build the story.
So I don't even where were we?
We're in Junie, but
no, we weren't in Junie. We were going somewhere, and then we decoyed to Junie.
Detoured.
I suppose I could take decoy for detoured. We detoured to Junie. We weren't going there. That was never on our list.
But we stayed at then we went there in the morning because the internet said there was a tour that morning.
Yes.
And then we rocked up there.
And then they said there wasn't enough people for a tour.
And we were there.
And we just looked
I
at
think
them and went,
Riley sort of had a sad face.
Yeah, we all did our sad face and went, oh. And we just drove all the way here just to come here. And that wasn't a lie. No. It was true. That's what I was trying to say. Where did we come from?
Because it was cold. Remember how cold it was?
It was freezing.
It was freezing.
Freezing cold. It was raining. It was really, really horrible weather. But all we wanted to do was taste hot licorice and chocolate.
So what did they do?
So we were moping, right? We're moping a little bit. We're just going, oh, okay, we'll just get some stuff because we were buying presents for the kids to send home and for family. And then the lady comes over and she goes, oh, you know what? Just come with me. We'll just get one. We're just going to do another one for you.
It's not very busy.
It's not very busy. Just come with me.
We're going to give you a private tour.
We'll just give so she's like, we'll give you a private tour. So Riley's like, oh, then we're all kind of the same. So we're all excited. And I even said, oh, look, no, don't. It's okay. Like, you're going to be closing soon. Don't worry about it. She's like, oh, don't worry. It's the end of the day. So anyway, she takes us off into the room where you sit, and she's doing it. And we ended up just chatting as you do. We're just chatting away and watching what they were doing, and she was explaining it. And then they usually, during the tour, they give you like little taste testers. She's bringing out bowls. There's only 3 of us, and Tim was the only one that actually eats licorice. Anyway, we all ate a lot of licorice because it was fresh and it was warm, straight out of the machine. And she was just talking, and she just kept giving us more food, and then she's having some, and then she decided to start playing the game. Remember the ball game or something? If you can get it in something or other, you win a prize. And I think Riley just got the prize anyway. I don't know what it was, but it was so much fun. I felt like we were in it
was like Charlie the Chocolate Factory.
Yeah, it really was, because it was just us.
There was a happy memory. And then do you remember the hot chocolate we got after that?
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, then you go outside to the little cafe area where you have, I don't know what chocolate was. It was some beautiful, they make it all out there. They do it all out there. And it's just, I don't know. And obviously the history side of it we love, because you got to walk up and look at all the old history of the building and how they make it, the old machinery. But again, it was just, that was another area that we detoured to, just like the Tallaroo Hot Springs, because neither of them were on our radar. We weren't going to any of them. They just popped up and we went, let's go there.
And that was a great spot. I remember when we stayed there, we were right on the lake there.
Yeah, it was a beautiful lake. We had beautiful sunsets.
We had good walks, and that was a great place. I really enjoyed Junie. I'm going to put that on my list as well.
Oh, my goodness. There's so much more we need to do.
We haven't even
started. You just want to go and get more licorice.
No, I just want to.
You just want to go back and travel.
I do. But I would go and get more.
So the hot tip is, the reason why we're sharing these couple of things is that even though you might have a plan, and if this is a once in a lifetime thing and it means you're just going to add like an hour onto your trip or an overnight stay you hadn't planned, it can be a memory like for us that we're going to hold really dearly to the heart, because we're so glad that we did the detour. We're so glad we went and stayed there, because we also met people, we learnt stuff about their history, and sometimes it's just worth turning left instead of right. Yeah. So I reckon go and do it.
All right, matey, I got one more thing to ask you.
Ask me? Okay.
If we were to start again tomorrow.
Oh, my goodness.
If we were to start again tomorrow, what would be, or if somebody came to you and said, we're going to start travelling tomorrow, what would be your number one tip that you would say to them?
Oh, that's a bit on the spot. My number one tip would probably be just to remember to slow down.
Yeah.
Remember the reasons why you are doing this. Make sure you stick to the reasons why you're doing it. Spending time with family, making memories, having once-in-a-lifetime experiences. Don't make it about those little hiccups and the bits that are going to come in between, because they're going to come, but just ride the wave.
Yep. My tip would be commit. Commit to keeping it simple.
Yeah. And
because I think that's where we went wrong. I think
we kept it simple for a while, and then we made it hard for ourselves.
And we made it complicated.
Yeah.
And then as soon as we started making it complicated, that's when the anxiety kicked in and the stress kicked in, and we were no longer enjoying it.
No.
So that would be my tip. Keep it simple and commit to keeping it simple. And just enjoy being together. So it wasn't always easy, but was it worth it?
110%.
Yes.
Because you know what? You don't want everything to be easy. It's all part of the journey. It's all part of the experience. And I 100%, 110, 20, 30. I would not change anything.
I wouldn't either. Because even when it was hard, that's when we learned the biggest lessons.
That's right. Like I could go back and say, oh, well, I would never have bought the van. I would never have bought the first car.
Yeah.
And we wish we'd done this. We wish we'd done that. There's
It's
no point.
also true.
Because that's what's made us who we are today. Because we now know the mistakes we made and we happily own it. And it's just how it is. And you know what? That's life.
Keep it simple. Go and buy yourselves a little rig. Be yourself and take it easy and live beneath your means.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Living beneath your means.
I think if you can do those things, you can legitimately be on the road for a very long period of time. Learn amazing things about yourself.
And amazing people, because they become
amazing
family.
things about your family and spouse that you probably never would have known unless you were travelling.
Yes.
There were things that I learnt about you that I never would have known unless we were living in such close proximity in a shoebox for 3.5 years.
I think that's probably another video, or maybe not even a video at all.
Oh, that could be a really good video.
It could be actually quite a fun video.
I need a very long list.
Yeah, we might need a book for that one.
Yeah.
We can have a few of those.
But
moments.
I would do it again 100%.
Yeah,
But
so would I.
I would do it differently now.
Yeah, we'd do it differently. We wouldn't change how we've done it, but moving forward, we'd do things a little bit differently.
I don't think I'd travel full time. Like, I'm talking like years. You know, I could see myself doing a few months at a time, but not full time. Not until at least Riley left school.
Yeah. We're putting Riley as a bit of a priority because we want him to be settled. We want him to stay in school. We want him to finish and be comfortable. So full-time travel isn't definitely not coming in the next 4 years. We've got 4 years till he finishes school
And
if he chooses to go.
That's one of the great things about having a little rig, because I feel like having a little rig is going to keep us on track for that. Just a few months at a time.
So again, it's almost just another 4 to 5 year plan again.
Yeah.
Before we get on the road full time again, because we know we will, we definitely will. But priority is Riley finishing school and getting settled before anything like that was to happen.
Yeah.
So hopefully he wants to travel with us still.
Well, yeah, it'd be
We'll
good.
see. Yeah,
Well, we need to go and start packing the van because we need to get going in a couple of days.
we do. And
The van's, having a smaller rig too, it's so much easier packing it. Because
he says this, but he's not packing it.
But we don't
He
take
packs the
anywhere
outside.
near as much of stuff as we used to. And how much easier is it to set up?
Oh, it doesn't take long to set up at all.
I mean, like,
It's so easy.
I remember having our previous van and it took forever.
And I don't know why, because it had all the special leveling and I don't know
That
why
was
it took
pretty
us
cool.
so long. I mean, I do miss that. I'm not going to lie.
I do miss the airbag suspension.
I do miss that a lot.
That's one thing I miss.
But we've been all right, though. We've actually done all right. Now we've found the right set
I
of...
have to write to Snowy River and see if they can release a van that has hybrid suspension, airbag suspension.
Okay, you do that.
I'm sure they'd love to hear from me.
I'm sure they would. Well, we do probably have to
we
wrap
do
it
need
up
to go.
because
But
we
that
do
was
have
fun.
to get cracking.
But, all right, well, on the road next week, well, pretty soon, a couple of days.
Yeah, back into a travel. We've got a big travel day.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a...
Yeah.
We're going to do it, whether we're doing it in a day, it's 7-hour drive, or we do it overnight. We haven't decided yet.
We never used to travel more than 4 hours in a day, remember that?
I know, but
was
this is
our
we're
rule.
back to that reality of time before going back to work, school reality. So we don't have the luxury of taking 3 or 4 days to get somewhere
we will sit
anymore.
down and work it out what we're going to do.
Yes.
In the meantime, I'm going to keep Mount Gambier, Junee, Hay Plains in my must-see list again.
Oh my goodness.
Mind you, I'm sure there's other places that we need to see that'll
There
be
is
just as good.
so many places we have not talked about. So yeah, but that's okay. That'll be in another video because we've got to get cracking.
Yeah, we do. All right, my dear. Thank you.
No problem. What are you thanking me for?
Because you're awesome.
Thanks.
And we will see you guys in the next video. Take care.
See you next week.
Cause I found my way. I found my way.